能找到一些佛友，愿意听某某法师、某某居士、某某教授在这讲解90分钟的话，已经不容易的。我们是一个立刻的时代，所以呢，我们就愿意静下来，把自己的身心准备就是研究动脑子就研究这部很深深的佛道、深深的佛法的一个宝藏呢，不容易，真的不容易。So I'm rattling on here, saying that how much I appreciate everybody's coming to join this lecture. We are in a time of diminishing attention spans, just organically. Our synapses fire faster than they used to. And at a time like this, to find folks who are willing to settle down for 90 minutes to listen to anybody, monk, nun, layman, laywoman, professor, expert, whoever it is, talking on for 90 minutes about any particular topic is rare and very special. When it's the Flower Garland Sutra that we're looking at, that's very wonderful. Here we go. Let us invoke spiritual presence. 那我们现在就迎请华严海会佛菩萨、天龙八部护法上身结晶道场。好的，祝福各位。The instrument that's helping us in the background there raise our spirits to welcome the assembly was built in England perhaps 90 years ago. That was a 90-year-old instrument. Singing the name of a timeless sutra. The Pomo people practice spiritual connections to the earth and to all creation here in what we now call Mendocino County, their ancestral land, for tens of thousands of years, as long as humans have been there. Today we acknowledge them as traditional custodians and original storytellers of these lands. We offer our respect to their elders past, present, and emerging, and to all First Nations people whose sovereignty was never ceded. 那就是说Pomo人在他们祖先的土地上修炼着他们与土地和万物的精神联系已有数万年。今天我们承认他们是这些土地的传统监护人和原始讲故事的人，就说我们白种人说是 Mendocino 县，他们就 Yokeo 深谷 有什么时候一开始有人他们已经在那儿我们向过去、现在和新兴的长老们表示致敬，以及主权从未被割让所有第一民族的人民们表示敬意。It is true. Standing on the shoulders of those who came before. The bells sound wide resounds throughout 100 million worlds. The Buddha's law is heard and spread all throughout the triple world. The wondrous sounds that everywhere fill the Dharma realm with peace. May those who hear it gain the strength to follow in faith the Buddha's path. 众生传3000劫内，佛法扬万亿国中，共训其法界和平，利益报他诺后的。Okay, we're done with the protocol. And let's see here. Okay, Amitofo. Who is here? Wow, there's 100 of us here already. We come from, talk about acknowledging country, huh? So we come from City of 10,000 Buddhas, and Gold Coast of Queensland, Australia, and Hong Kong, and Northern Washington State, Okanagan, from San Jose, from Los Angeles, from Ukiah, from Newbury Park, California, from Santa Clara, from Cupertino, from Los Angeles, Montreal, Quebec, Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia, Round Rock, Texas, Alameda, California, Taipei, 广东佛山市 OK 欢迎 Berkeley, California, San Jose, Seattle, Union City, where else? Let's see here, Waterloo, Ontario, San Francisco, Saratoga, OK, Lucy is here, 辽宁 San Francisco, Calgary, Alberta, Taipei, OK, 广州还有什么Oslo, Norway, Petter is here, San Jose, San Francisco, Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia, Seattle, Los Angeles, San Leandro, let's see here, Hanoi, Vietnam, Ukiah, Vancouver, Beijing, Taipei. That's happy when we have Beijing and Taipei peacefully in harmony here. Heilongjiang, Beijing, Hangzhou, OK, 丰家到了 OK, 合肥安徽还有哪里台北OK, let's see here, 辽宁包头市大连北京辽宁很多东北人没错 OK, let's see here OK, 台湾云林欢迎浙江let's see here 黑龙江新北市陕西宝鸡黑龙江福建泉州 OK 张先生到了湖南安徽黑龙江深圳东北北京唐山河北唐山包头天津深圳南京 OK 哈尔滨黑龙江上海加拿大吉隆坡洛杉矶听起来就是一个国家中国不是一个国家是一个家庭就对的深圳上海黑龙江苏州OK 海宁 good so it's wonderful to be able to find all these friends who have come to hear the Dharma 那么多佛友来听佛法不容易的Okay, now I'm aware that folks are listening, monks, nuns, laymen, laywomen, especially younger monks. Delighted that you're here. And what we're going to be, we're investigating the 10 Transferences, and we are in a section of the text that is very repetitive. We're in the 7th transference, and I'm arranging my legs in my chair here. So in the 7th transference, this is already close to the end. There's only 3 more to go before the Bodhisattva masters this technique of practice, this method of practice, using the mind to give. So the examples of the practice that the sutra gives us are very, very profound. They're complicated, they're complex, and anyone who has looked into this chapter with us knows that my emphasis has always been that ideally the best solution or the best reaction that people can have to the lecture is to be inspired to want to try it yourself, is to be inspired to put transference or dedication of merit into practice. To say, wow, the Avatamsaka Bodhisattvas can do it, I want to try it too. I want to get good at it. And what is maybe the simplest of dedication vows is, in Chinese it goes, 我即入众生皆共成佛道. May I become a Buddha together with all living beings. So I want to become a Buddha, I want all beings to become Buddhas too. That's maybe the simplest one, the idea. If we wanted to if we wanted to remove even the Buddha language, we could say something like, may I be peaceful and happy together with all living beings who gain peace and happiness. I want good things, may all beings get good things, and I'm giving away my stuff that I could enjoy myself, but I want to give it away instead. That's the idea. That's the goal. And when we get to, and so as we go through the 10 transferences, we've encountered literally thousands of wishes that bodhisattvas actually make. And some of them are very simple, like that. Early on, may all beings gain the light of wisdom, like that. Dang Yan Zhong Sheng, may all beings I've cultivated, and I want to give it away. I want to give all beings this goodness. And then at the same, and in another part of the sutra, there are transference wishes that are super complex. They're just magnificent in their scope. I want living beings to do this and this and this and this with the merit that I give them, and the result is this. So today's, this set that we're in 110 wishes right now, 110 vows, and they get fairly complex. So to explain them could take, if we did each one, it could take a long time if we gave each one the attention that they deserve. Let me translate this and give the idea. I'm setting a context for the vows that we're going to encounter today. 就是说 回向这个法门是就是一种行为，一种行门，一种行为，一种修行的方法。是什么呢？你有功德，你修到就有功德，你把这个功德自己不享受，自己不是给旁人享受，你分享你的功德，那就对。应该最简单的讲法就是说，分享你的好处，自己可以接受的这个功德福报啊善根，你不愿意一个人享受，你愿意给旁人有这个好处分享。对，如果我们把这种的菩萨所发的回向利愿令它最简单，应该就差不多这样子，就是说我记住众生皆共成佛道，我愿意成佛，又愿意一切众生一起成佛，差不多了，可以了。那么有的在第一回向、第二、第三、第四回向，有的就是这么简单菩萨发愿，希望一切众生有智慧光明。我修的功德，我布施给众生，希望他们都得到好处，这样子分享。话说回来，我们在研究这个10回向品，已经讲到第7回向这个菩萨所发的愿很微妙，不是说复杂，我就说有种种好几层的愿里边，他愿意众生就有更微妙的好处。所以就是因为菩萨的他的回向的功夫，如果是好像他的 muscle 他的肌肉现在很会，现在有真正的功夫到了，所以他回向，他的心清净，他回向的时候，哇，这个力量可想而知，因为他修的快圆满，这样子。今天我们第7回向菩萨，他就说，他就发一种欢喜心，因为什么发欢喜心？因为然后列起来了110个愿力，这些愿力不是很简单的，是要好几个不同的转弯，这样子婉转。所以我就这样子介绍，今天我们继续研究菩萨为令一切众生如何这样子，所以他就有欢喜心。Okay, now the other thing, got that? Everybody following along here? That's a long section of translation. Another fun aspect about today's lecture is this is the last lecture before we get to Lunar New Year's. And what is Lunar New Year's? This is dragon time this year. Dragons, 龙。我们快到龙年，我们快到过年这个时候就今天的讲解是我们还没到龙年前就最后一次讲座，所以呢今天要讲龙一点点。Okay, so we're going to talk a little bit about dragons later. Alrighty. Now, here's our text. There it is. We start with this one right here and head on down. Ready? 为令一切众生具足无碍清净平等功德法故 in order to enable living beings to perfect the practices that lead to the realization of pure merit, free of obstruction and discrimination. Yeah, didn't I say so? That's exactly what I meant. Bodhisattva says, I am happy because I want to make it possible so that living beings can practice in a certain way. What kind of practice? Practice perfectly practices that lead to the realization of pure merit free of obstruction and discrimination. All right. What? It's to say sometimes merit can be obstructed and discriminated against. Think of an example. You want to do good, but let's say you want to put in a park on a piece of empty land in town, but moneyed interests, let's say the mafia, wants to put in a bar or a nightclub. So you try to do good, but it's obstructed. You want to do merit, but you have to go through some tough characters who want to make money out of that same piece of land. You want to make it a public park. If anybody has seen the movie Ikiru, the Kurosawa film, that's the exact plot that happens in Kurosawa's Ikiru. So the mild-mannered public servant who discovers that he has a terminal cancer and he's only going to live another 9 months, and he's never stood up for anything important in his life, but he decides to dedicate all his efforts to making sure that the empty lot in this neighborhood becomes a public park and not a bar, which will create a lot of trouble for the neighborhood. And he has no strength at all, but he winds up defeating the mafia that wants to put in the bar. So good triumphs over evil simply by somebody dedicating his merit, making a wish, and being fearless, doesn't care if he dies, in order to see the park built. Perfect example. So may living beings make that merit, realize that merit, free from obstructions and discrimination. 大家是不是这是其中一个例子？他说我欢喜，我发欢喜心，为什么？因为我愿意令一切众生具足无碍功德。什么样的功德呢？清净平等功德法。这种的行法是为什么会不清净？为什么不平等呢？这种功德，你看这个愿了很有意思不是那么浅显，比较深入我就想到我应该说最喜欢的一篇电影。这个电影我没有出家之前都早看过。这篇电影是在50年代做的。这个是Kurosawa黑檀那个日本的导演，他叫 Ikiru 就是说生命，我为的过的一个圆满的人生。意思是说有一个就是一个老好人，他在市政府里边工作，他是一个bureaucrat， 他管理好像法律是他是检查这个房子就合法化的这种，我的中文不会讲，他有这种的普通通的工作，他从来没有提高声音。他是一个点点低头，点点这个答应，好，这么一个人。 然后有一个案子出来了，有一块空地，附近的邻居，他们愿意把这个空地做一个公园，他们的孩子可以在那边就安全地玩那里。可是啊，黑社会他们看那片空地，他们愿意造一个酒吧，一个俱乐部，一个可以喝酒，可以跳舞厅、赌博厅。当然，附近的邻居反对，可是他们没有势力。这个黑社会他们来威胁人他们愿意赚钱，这样子用不合法化的在赚钱。这个老好先生他去医生就说，你现在有癌症，恐怕你就有9个月的生命，明年这个时候你就没有了。他知道这个案子，有一个妇女来劝他找一个理由不给黑社会许可那个 permit 不要发给他们，就这样子他们不会做赌博厅。这个好好先生他就发心要做一件善事，然后因为他不怕死，他知道他快已经会死所以他就一定要他要做功德，不会碰到不清净，不会碰到障碍然后Ikiru 那片电影我都看了好几次，很好，黑白的电影。So, black and white film called Ikiru. If you have a chance to see it, recommended by Kurosawa. That's an example of 具足无碍清净平等功德法。All right. 为令一切众生以广大心常念诸佛无懈废故。In order to enable living beings to bring forth a vast resolve to be constantly mindful of all Buddhas without laziness or neglect. Okay, analyze it. He says, I want to give my merit and virtue to all living beings so that they will be mindful of the Buddhas. How? Mindful of the Buddhas without ever being lazy, without ever neglecting, and that their resolve to constantly be mindful of the Buddhas will be vast. So what's the deal here? What could be better than to be constantly mindful of the Buddhas? Imagine, if we were constantly mindful of the Buddhas, we would always be surrounded by this light of goodness, this gentleness and kindness and acceptance and no judgment and no stress and no forcing, but just this awareness of the bottomless depth of goodness of the human heart that is the Buddha. Why would you ever want to forget that and turn your back on it, right? Well, it's because people are people, and we also have greed, and we also have anger, and we also have delusion in our hearts. And as a result, we turn our backs on the infinite source of compassion that is the Buddha. Yeah. So, Pay It Forward, correct. Yeah, Pay It Forward, good film. That's another good one. Yeah. So it's no good deed goes unpunished, right? Yeah. So if only living beings could be constantly mindful of all Buddhas, of the Buddhas, we would never want to hurt anyone. We'd never want to do a single thing that causes stress or affliction. But if you are constantly mindful of the Buddhas, you don't drop bombs on people. You don't harm them in any way. You don't kill animals and then eat their bodies, because you remember the Buddhas, and the Buddhas give you this feeling of goodness, ultimate goodness. But living beings are just that way. We are. So that's why the Bodhisattva has to make such a vow. 菩萨为什么要发这么一个回向愿呢？就说我希望我把我的功德回向给众生，不是给他们，希望他们常念诸佛。不但常念诸佛，没有写费常念诸佛，而且用广大心常念诸佛。常念诸佛是什么？你如果念诸佛，你就有一道光明，把你这个人的身体的多少个细胞，多少个毛孔，一个人的身体多少个，每一个毛孔，每一个细胞都梦到一种舒服，在舒服这个字不够了，就说这种自在快乐的光明，这种无缘没有缘底的一个慈悲的这个海，好像跳到一个慈悲水的一个海里边去了，这么舒服，这么就说可乐的一种感觉。为什么要背着那种感觉不记得不念了？不会，就是因为我们不但有念佛的这种念头在心里，同时我们也有贪嗔痴自私自利的念头在心里边，正贪求自私自利妄语人，这些念头一大堆。所以呢，就在这种的慈悲的圆融，没有害心的这种佛光，在我心里，我都会背着的，都背道而驰，这样子所以菩萨需要发这种回向的愿，奇怪哈呀，奇怪。OK， 为令一切众生常敬诸佛，亲供养故。In order to enable living beings to always draw near to and diligently make offerings to all Buddhas. There's a simple one. That's the early kind of transference. I want living beings to go make offerings to the Buddha. Yay! Now, where do we find that vow echoing? We find it in Samantabhadra Bodhisattva's Practices and Vows number 3. There it is. Guangshu Gongyang, right there. And, my goodness, I have to say, I've said this before, it's personal. I was surprised to discover how often this comes up in the Avatamsaka Sutra about making offerings, and in the Lotus Sutra, and in the Mahaprajnaparamita Sutra and the Nirvana Sutra. This is a big deal. Making offerings to the Buddha, to the Dharma, to the Sangha, to one's teacher, to living beings, to one's parents. And it's not that it's lobbying so the Buddhas get a lot of good stuff. That's not the point. The point is the reaction of giving on the giver, which is every time we give away part of the self. That is the obstruction to Buddhahood. Every time we give to the Buddhas, make offerings, we establish a deeper relationship with the Buddhas, and that's a good thing. Excuse me. I didn't expect that would be the case. And yet, if you look at, for example, the Universal Door chapter, Pumanpin, here is, in the Pumanpin, we have Guanyin Bodhisattva, who is already Guanyin Bodhisattva, making offerings made to her. So, it's a big deal. in the Avatamsaka just now, chapter 39, Shariputra arrives in front of the Buddha, leading 6,000 bhikshus, and he teaches them to make offerings to the Buddhas and to Manjushri Bodhisattva. Manjushri bows to the Buddha. So this is a constant theme, and it's clear that generosity is a major source of goodness and happiness. That's why the Bodhisattva wants living beings to always get close to and make offerings to Buddhas. 就是说，我还没有读到佛经之前，我根本没有这个脑海里边还没有挂这个念头，就说供养做布施是修行的一个开始，是很重要的法门，这是我没想到。然后听到师父讲经以后，哇，就说到处菩萨道从布施开始，甚至于普门品、法华经，有菩萨看到观音菩萨怎么做呢？供养。无尽意菩萨把他的念珠就布施给观音菩萨，观音菩萨最初呢不愿意接受，佛告诉他可以接受，他接受之后怎么样？又布施出去了，不是给佛，不是给多宝佛塔。这个回向呢也是一种布施，不过这种的布施为什么怎么样强调呢？第一呢，每一次无论我们布施给众生，布施给父母，还是供养给佛菩萨，供养佛法僧三宝，我们东西离开自己的手，给父母给师长，给佛菩萨，我们同时把自己我相我知布施出去了，少了我见，少了我知，那就是好的，因为我见我知是障碍，我们成佛。这是第一呢。同时呢，我们供养诸佛，我们跟佛就那个关系，我们跟佛的法缘更深更坚固，那就是好事，对不对？所以呢，这个布施呢，供养很重要。就是华严经就说是一切诸佛根本修行的法门。Okay, giving, generosity is indeed one of the fundamental practices that all Buddhas practice. Moving on. Here we go. 为令一切众生广开一切诸善根门，普能圆满白净法故。In order to enable living beings to open the door to all good roots and perfect pure dharmas. Okay, we want to open the door to good roots. We want to perfect pure dharmas. To open the door and to perfect. So open the door is the beginning. Making it perfect is the end. So good roots, pure dharmas. Pure would, from a dharma point of view, means done without the self calculating for its advantage. You do it so that others benefit. You want to help people. You cultivate in order to bring the good stuff to others. Why is that true? It's because that is endless happiness. You cultivate if your motive for cultivation is to bring good things to others, it never gets old. When you see those benefits going to people, it's a thrill. You say, today was, I'm glad I got out of bed. When we do it to try to satisfy personal appetite, it gets old and you don't continue. You get bored, you get satiated. That's not the Bodhisattva path. 就说要广开善根门，要圆满白净法。广开是开始，圆满是结束，一个始，一个终。回向是把好处给旁人，布施愿一切众生，一切众生是我们回向的对象。这个善根门，我们经过这个门修行，白净法。白净不是说肮脏，不是说邋遢，是说没有我在里边。清净就是说，白净就是说做的圆满，为众生，所有的好处是给其他人。什么道理呢？为什么这么说呢？因为为其他人是布施，属于布施，这是属于欢喜。助人是快乐之本，真的。这个十行品第一行欢喜行，十地品第一地欢喜地。这样子呢，为其他人做呢，你看其他人受到好处，你回向给他们，利益他们，他们得到这个利益呢，你看了，你就说今天我是值得来，有这个人生就是值得。如果我们做善，为自己的嗜好，我所有的这个食物，我自己一个人张开大口，让人互吞下去，让互怎么说？那个成语，让人胡吃怎么说？我就吃下去了，到时候你就说我饱了，不想再吃，你不会继续。如果做善是为其他人做的，没有一个讨厌的时候，你就说每次我就是值得做所以呢，文殊菩萨劝6000个比丘，他说你最重要呢，修行菩萨道，你就要栽培一个无疲厌心，没有疲倦，没有讨厌。那个时候，因为好处给他人呢，他们受到了就高兴，没有烦恼你就说这个我可以，我没有一个讨厌的时候。浪吞胡咽，谢谢。浪吞胡咽，好，翻明，谢谢。浪吞胡咽，对的。如果你就所有了，就不要给其他人得到一口，那就自私。你吃了多少，怎么样香，你不会觉得好吃。Appetite。Moving on， 为令一切众生无量心、广大心、最胜心，悉清净故。In order to enable living beings to purify limitless, expansive, and supreme thoughts their limitless, expansive, and supreme mind. That's another translation. Yeah, I think those are different kinds of thoughts. A limitless, expansive, and supreme mind, purify it. Yeah, I guess so. So that's the idea, is that the more we transfer, the more we can. The more we do it, the better we get at it. 意思就是说，我们越回向，我们越会回向。你就是 like a muscle， 就像自己推重，你一开始的不会很多，你时间久了，哇，你会推了很重。这样子回向也是一样的。为令一切众生成就清净等施心故。In order to enable beings to perfect a pure, impartial mind of giving. There it is, giving. 布施欢喜行，欢喜力。It is giving is the first of the 10 practices and the first of the 10 stages, 10 grounds. You bet. The more we give, it is inexhaustible. 没有穷尽的欢喜。为令一切众生奉持诸佛世波罗蜜等清净故。In order to enable living beings to uphold the Buddha's Shila Paramita and purify each and every precept. Okay, we are now looking at the paramitas. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There are 6 paramitas to come. Let's read them all. We'll do all 6. 接下来我们有6波罗蜜，在他的回向利愿里边，我们都从头到尾念完了。为令一切众生成就清净等施心故，为令一切众生奉持诸佛施波罗蜜等清净故，为令一切众生得大堪忍波罗蜜故，为令一切众生住清净波罗蜜常无懈故，为令一切众生住无量定能起种种神通智故，为令一切众生得知一切法无体性般若波罗蜜故。In order to enable living beings to perfect a pure and impartial mind of giving, in order to enable living beings to uphold the Buddha's Shila Paramita and purify each and every precept, in order to enable living beings to attain the paramita of great patience, in order to enable living beings to abide in the paramita of vigor and never be lax, in order to enable living beings to abide in countless samadhis, thereby activating the wisdom of all kinds of spiritual powers, in order to enable living beings to attain the prajna paramita of knowing that all phenomena are without an inherent nature. Okay, these are, everyone's familiar, these are practices associated with bodhisattvas in particular, and the heart of the paramita to Dao Bi'an Fa, dharmas that cross over, take us across to the other shore, the heart of them is that they are cultivated, connected to living beings, in tandem, I guess, in cooperation, in response to living beings. The paramitas are given as antidotes. If somebody is stingy, you help them appreciate the value of generosity. If somebody is lax and dissolute, you help them appreciate the value of holding to standards, ethical standards, Shila Paramita. If somebody is impatient and impulsive and angry, you get them to appreciate the value of patience. If somebody is irresolute and doesn't follow through, you teach them the value of vigor, constancy. If somebody is scattered and unable to focus, you help them bring the mind together in samadhi. And if somebody is insensitive to principle, unaware of fundamental truth, you teach them to appreciate the value of prajna wisdom. So these are kind of medicines that the Dharma doctor gives to living beings so that they can deeply interact with themselves to bring about synthesis and harmony in themselves, right? So too much of one, too little of one, you add to it or subtract to bring them to harmony. These are the paramitas. Bodhisattvas use them perfectly, and they've already committed to being interactive with living beings. That's how these work, right? They're there as you've already made the Bodhi resolve. You're already working with people. So when you see paramitas work, it seems like magic. It's not magic. It's the Dharma of the Bodhisattva. 这些波罗蜜法到彼岸的法这个是跟众生一起修的行门。菩萨因为已经发菩提心，所以他愿意跟众生有关系的，他跟众生一起修这些法，把众生某某人他的缺点能补上，他的多余能减少，就得到中道了义。这是回向，这是这个波罗蜜的法菩萨能用它，他就是行菩萨道他已经发心度众生他愿意跟在苦海里边做一个不亲之友这样子，所以他就很会用这6种的这个菩萨的法门，令众生好像自己不太知道了，不知不觉的他就愿意中道因为菩萨在旁边就无形中让他明白，众生刻薄不能舍，菩萨用布施波罗蜜令他圆满众生很懈怠不懂规矩，菩萨用失落波罗蜜戒波罗蜜就鼓励众生就要往道德要有为这个标准去做就得到中道众生就很暴躁脾气太坏了，众生鼓励他要忍耐，用失落那个찬티波罗蜜就要忍这样子呢他的个性就圆满那么如果众生就说懈怠，不会就要渐成恒菩萨就用这个精进波罗蜜令众生他的根性圆满。如果众生就好像很散乱，就没有定心，那就菩萨鼓励跟他一起去打坐，让他明白这个般若那个禅定波罗蜜是好处那菩萨就喜欢打坐就慢慢的就有定力圆满。然后如果众生不明白道理那么菩萨就让他无形中鼓励他上智慧，这样子呢就慢慢的众生就接受菩萨的教导，就慢慢的就有大智慧。所以这些6度呢是跟众生一起修的跟这个4谛8正道12因缘法不一样的这是菩萨的工具 Bodhisattva's tools. Okay, two more to finish the page. What have we got? 为令一切众生圆满无边净法界故 in order to enable living beings to perfect infinitely many pure Dharma realms. The verb here is perfect, to bring to perfection, to perfect a Dharma realm. Boy, oh boy, that's hard, and he wants living beings to do that. Think about a political year. We are currently in an election year, not only in America, but in many countries this year. And the choice between democracy, where every individual gets a chance to speak and to be heard, and their voice, every individual's voice matters, versus strongman type governments, where dictatorships, where one person's opinion is the law for everybody, and if you don't accept it, there's trouble for you. Those are very clear choices, and everyone aspires to be free. So, to have their voice heard. So, in a time like this, when we want to give, wisdom arises from the multitudes, from the many. It's a difficult time to make this this vision of liberating living beings from oppression. It's hard. That's a hard thing. Bodhisattvas make long vows for that reason. You bet. So to make pure Dharma realms, infinitely many pure Dharma realms, yeah, not easy. 就说众生令法界清净不容易，不容易啊。那么多不同种的众生，有的众生根性很凶恶，愿意吃其他的众生；有的众生的根性很弱，他们很容易被吃的。那你怎么会令喜欢吃众生的心不那么圆满？怎么会令就说太柔软的、太敏感众生的性质比较坚强一点？不容易，所以菩萨他都要发这个心，用长远的眼光，为令一切众生成满一切神通清净善根故。In order to enable living beings to accomplish and perfect the pure good roots of all spiritual powers. The good roots of spiritual powers. May living beings accomplish that. How do they do it? First is compassion. That's one of the major important steps in order to accomplish and perfect good roots of spiritual powers. As long as there's the slightest bit of selfishness, spiritual powers go wrong. Great compassion has subdued the self, and you cultivate in order to benefit others equally. You use the Tongti Dabe. Then psychic powers are there simply as tools to help people wake up. As long as there's any thought of gain from them, they inevitably go wrong. So people are really confused about psychic powers. There we go. 就说怎么会呢？令众生成满什么样的善根？神通清净。Let's see here. 神通清净善根，这是不容易的。一定要通体大悲，无愿大慈。有丝毫的自私自利神通就会走错路了，所以必须要先从大慈大悲开始，就那个时候这个神通这种善根就变成工具来帮忙度众生。Okay, hey, what do we got? We've got dragons. Want to see dragons? Yes, Dharma Master. How about this? No, that's not the one. Let's try another one. Oh boy, check out the dragon. How about another one? There's another one. Wow, look at the dragon. 有龙，今年龙年快到了， 这个是什么地方的？这个是伯克莱道场。这个我们佛堂里边彩色玻璃。Where are these from? These are dragons from the Berkeley Buddhist Monastery's Buddha Hall. Stained glass dragons. Ho ho. Look at that. Guanyin Pusa is here. And this is, it's kind of, you could say, 巧合, kind of a coincidence that, oh, yeah, there's a dragon. Whoa. He's looking at his pearl. 这条龙要看他的这个宝珠. Oh, there's a dragon. That red dragon. So, the coincidence happened yesterday. This is, we're coming up to the year of the dragon. And let's see here. Oh, there we go. Now you're talking. Look at that. 各位注意，两条龙，都有他们的宝珠，还有地藏菩萨。So, I was explaining the Avatamsaka entering the Dharma realm yesterday, where if anybody is following that series, Manjushri Bodhisattva has been showing up. And of course, he is lots of fun. Manjushri is, a lot of stuff happens when Manjushri shows up. He's an action bodhisattva. And he's greatly wise, and so he's always using expedient wisdom. So what happens? Well, he's on his way to teach Sudana, and he comes down into the realm of humans, and he appears in a park. And it's a grove. Where are we? Here we go. Here it is, right here. 这是昨天在讲入法界品的时候，讲华严经，文殊师利菩萨就下来了，到了人间，他到一个浮城东边有一个树林子，这个树林子是过去诸佛讲法的地方，他到一个宝塔，然后他讲经，讲这个叫普照法界修多罗。讲这部经呢，有多少无量百千亿诸龙而来其所。这些龙闻到这个法，深厌龙趣，他们不愿意再做龙，他们说这个龙的身体呢讨厌了，正求佛道，我们愿意成佛了。所以因为文殊师利菩萨的功德，显摄令这些龙啊，摄龙身呢，升天人中。1万诸龙发阿耨多罗三藐三菩提心，得不退转。哇，这华严经呢就讲龙，刚好我们这个星期五，你们那边星期四哈，就是过年，就是龙年来了，所以我觉得很巧啊，讲华严经，讲这个文殊师利菩萨他的教化众生就专门叫龙。听到这部经普照法界修多罗，他们出来了，就说我想不要再做龙，我让你成佛啊。好的，可以的，那你就快去升天，快去升人间， 我们的修行了，就发大菩提心，你就会有办法。So here's the fun part. Yesterday, we're talking about dragons because this Friday, your Thursday, if you're in California, is the actual day of Lunar New Year's. Oh boy, going in. So this is the year of the dragon. Oh man, dragon year is a big year. And so reading along, Manjushri Bodhisattva, the action Bodhisattva, the expedient wisdom chief, he comes down to teach Sudana, but he's got to stop first. He has an appointment. And he goes to the City of Blessings, and east of the City of Blessings is a Sala tree grove called the Dorn Banner. Buddhas always come to this place to teach every world system. He goes to the great stupa there, and where Buddhas cultivated difficult acts of renunciation. And what does he do? He receives the offerings of the gods and the dragons, an eightfold pantheon. He explains a sutra of everywhere illuminating the Dharma realm. He explains a sutra. He just opens up these principles. What happens when he does that? Measureless hundreds of thousands of millions of dragons come to the Sala Grove to see Manjushri. They say, we heard that sutra, and you know what? We don't want to be dragons anymore. We want to be Buddhas. Oh boy. They truly seek the Buddha's way, having heard that sutra, and they let go of their dragons' bodies, and Manjushri sends them to the heavens and to the realm of humans, where they make the great Bodhi resolve and become irreversible. How about that? Now, mind you, there's a lot of dragons' bodies laying around there, but the point is that Manjushri has this appointment. He's got this date with the dragons to hear the sutra, decide that they don't want to be dragons anymore, and get reborn. They evolve. They travel along the path of incarnation, making progress towards Buddhahood. How cool is that? So I thought that was amazing. And 10,000 dragons made the great Bodhi resolve, and measureless living beings were brought into harmony by the three vehicles. I thought, how neat that during this time of the dragon year, we've got real dragons being crossed over by Manjushri. Now, here in Australia, we have dragons too. We've got them right there. You got to be careful where you walk. 大家看看，这是澳大利亚，我们的脚底下要小心一点。These are called bearded dragons. 留胡子的龙。That's my photo. Yep. Okay, time now for our story. We've got a good story here. Do we ever? If you remember Master Xuanzang, what was Master Xuanzang doing? He was waiting at the tent for the Shehu Khan, the ruler, a Turkic, maybe Persian, we would say Iranian, leader of this entire area, to come back from hunting. He's been out hunting for 3 days, and he saw that here was this amazing monk from China who is now crossed over into his territory. And he says, you go take a rest, I'll be back, and we'll talk when I'm back. So that time has come. 有一个叫舍护可汗，他是这个地区的 领袖，很有势力的一个，也可以说是国王，也可以说是将军。他呢去打猎，然后献出来从中国来的一个贵宾，一个法师，叫玄奘。这个可汗他就说，可汗，他就说好了，我等一等，你去我那个录音，等一等，我3天后就回来欢迎你，好吧？然后他就派他的门人来照顾。好的，现在回来了，啊。至衙3日，可汗方归，因法师入，可汗具一大帐，帐亦金花装之，烂炫人目。诸大观于前，列长宴2行，侍坐，皆锦服赫然，以帐为立于后。观之虽穷禄之君，亦为尊美矣。法师驱帐30余步，可汗出帐迎拜，传语未温起，入座。突觉是火，不失床，以目寒火，故静而不居，但地府众饮而已。认为法师设一铁胶床，复入请坐。The Khan returned after 3 days, received the master. The Khan lived in a large camp, which was decorated with dazzling golden flowers. The officials, all dressed in embroidered garments in a magnificent manner, sat on mats 2 long rows in front of the Khan to attend him, while armed guards stood behind him. Although the Khan was but a lord living in a camp, he had the air of elegance which commanded respect. Now, we mentioned last week how neat that Master Xuanzang was such a good journalist, that he noted all these incredible details. Who stood where? Who wore what? How was it decorated? What was on the floor? What was on the walls of the tent? When the master approached the camp at a distance of 30 paces, the Khan came to welcome and greet him and invited him to enter the camp to take a seat. Now, you've seen movies where in the desert, the local, the sultan or the chieftain comes out of their tent to welcome the visitor, and there are camels, and there are swords, and there are sand dunes, and there are date palms, and this is an Arabic world, Arabic speaking, and a desert culture, and it's very different from an urban city culture, for example. And so it's a meeting of exotic lifestyles, and of course the new guests are as exotic to the host as the tent livers are to the traveler. The Turks worshipped fire. They would not use wooden beds, as wood contains the element of fire. So out of a sense of respect, they don't sit on anything made of wood. They sit on double mats on the ground. A bed of iron frames with a mattress on it was prepared for the master to sit on. There you go. Talk about exotic. Nothing wood. Look around my room right here. My goodness. It is entirely wooden. And contains a lot of fire. So how interesting that these folks interpret their faith into the environment around them, showing respect by not cutting down trees. 你看这些人啊，他们的，我方才说，你们也看过电影，就说那个到了大沙漠去旅游，就贵宾来了。下他的骆驼，到了这个帐篷，这个主人出来了，他呢穿的是好像出家人的这个长袍，他留个胡子，包着头，就因为住在热的这个沙漠上，他呢 一切的行为跟我们住城市里边的人住的习惯大不同了。你们都看过，其实就是这个情形。可是玄奘法师呢，他也一样的是觉得很例外，剃光头发，穿的是出家人的衣服，那个主人一定看到这个贵宾呢，看得也怪怪啊。好的，可是他们呢就说从火拜火这个信仰，结果呢不用木材，任何木头的不用了，他们就说是好像违背不恭敬。OK， 须臾更因汉使即高昌诗人入，通国书及信物，可含字幕之审阅，令侍者作，命陈酒其乐。可含公主称食人饮，别宿葡萄酱奉法师，哈哈，那个很重要。于是自相筹劝，肃浑中顽之气，教错定地清，静脉兜利之音，铿锵护酒，虽翻俗之曲，亦甚于耳目，乐心已也。Almost immediately, an envoy of China and a messenger from Gaochang were ushered in. They presented their credentials and letters to the Khan, who asked the messengers to take seats and read them with obvious pleasure. He then ordered wine to be brought and music to be played, and he drank with his ministers and the messengers. Grape juice was offered to the master. I love it. They specify that he didn't drink alcohol. They offered wine to one another. The cups were filled and refilled with much bustle and much drinking. The foreign music, which made a great din, although vulgar in tone, was delightful and pleasant to the ear. Yes, of course. Boy, oh boy, I remember the first time I read this, that line stuck in my ear. Although it was vulgar, it was pleasant. This is, there's a Confucian perspective from the Confucian eyes. What did they have? What was it? It was drumming. It was drums. It's dance music, and it is exotic. And there are also the oud, the stringed instrument that is the grandfather of guitars. And all modern string instruments pretty much owe their existence to the oud. And the oud is an 8-string or 10-string instrument that has no frets. But it looks like a teardrop-shaped guitar, and it's played with a pick. And it has a very different scale. It's not the pentatonic known to Asia, and it's not the 8-note, 12-note scale known to Europe. So it's dissonant sounding, but it's very compelling, very touching. It moves the heart. It's great dance music, and it allows emotion to flow as music can do. And from a Confucian where, court music is very sedate, very proper. You don't shake your hips. It doesn't excite the chakras going up or down. So it's a very different approach to music, and yet it's delightful. It's so much fun to listen to, and it just gets your feet tapping. So we have banjo music does the same thing. Everybody likes banjos because they get your feet tapping. You tap your feet because there's a sound like this. Bum diddy bum diddy bum diddy bum diddy bum diddy bum diddy bum diddy. Makes you want to tap your feet. And that Arabic music played by the Shehu Khan for Master Xuanzang was dance music, and yet it's a different kind of dance, and it does go into your heart rhythm, and it excites it in a different way. So it's very effective music. I read that the first time. I thought, ha ha, yes. I'm sure it was vulgar and delightful both. 这个音乐呢，我看到这句我都会记得。我当时就这个音乐呢，这个可汗，他叫他的侍者，他的门人，做音乐。这个阿拉伯音乐呢，有鼓，打鼓，咚咚咚咚咚咚咚咚咚咚咚咚咚。他呢，他的 rhythm 那个节拍。还有它的 oud，这个 oud 是所有吉他类的乐器从这个 oud 来的，它呢是一切这个有弦子的这个像吉他的祖宗。它弹的是这个音调是跟我们中国还有北欧这个音乐不同。听了，你的心脏都会跳，不同。说是很俗的，不过呢也是很好听。我就笑一笑，因为对了，没有错，也是很俗的，它都会让你要跳舞同时呢你都会喜欢。这种音乐呢是从佛法呢出家众呢我们不跳舞。不过呢，听到这个音乐呢，都会欢喜，因为看众生听到了，他们都笑一笑，他们都会忘了忧愁忧虑所以呢，有它的好处这个玄奘大师他这么好一个写笔记的人，小小的细节他都会记录，所以我们。很完整的一个影像，在这个帐篷里边是怎么一回事？大家喝酒，他不喝酒，他是出家人，他喝葡萄汁。那个你看这个细节，都说大师在那里不会犯戒，他也会随俗，他就会入流他都会就因为他是外来的，就说他不会看不起他们了，他明白这个是方便法令众生有欢喜心，就不会忧愁这样子是我觉得我就第一次看到这个会遇我都会记得。I remember the first time I heard this encounter. I remembered it because here is the Chinese Buddhist monk who is, of course, not dancing. He doesn't dance. He doesn't play drums and such, but he can appreciate the value of ordinary people enjoying music, letting them forget their woes, forget their cares briefly, and to find some harmony. Furthermore, notice how the details are. He doesn't drink alcohol. He drinks grape juice. That the journal records that detail. I think it's just great. That's really, what a wonderful journal. And it gives you the sense of what was it like inside the tent of the Shehu Khan. Yeah, we have a sense of it from the Tang Dynasty. There's very, very few documents in Western culture that can compare with the wonder of this journal in giving us a real sense, taking us back to a time when Buddhist monks traveled the world to bring the Dharma to living beings. 你说还有除了这个西游记，还有这个玄奘大师传，有哪一篇文让我们知道唐朝在这个沙漠上的这个国王的帐篷里边境界是怎么一回事？没有了， 没有了。所以这本书呢太宝贵，太宝贵，是吗？是不是？ Yeah, absolutely. Okay, dedicate merit. Let's do it right now. Happy New Year, everybody. I hope you're all enjoying the Year of the Dragon better than the Year of the Rabbit. This is a hard one. Please make a wish. May every living being, our minds as one and radiant with light, share the fruits of peace with hearts of goodness, luminous and bright. If people hear and see how hands and hearts can find in giving unity, lay our minds away to great compassion, wisdom, and to joy. May kindness find reward, may all who sorrow leave their grief and pain. May this boundless light dispel the darkness of our endless night. Because our hearts are one, this world of pain turns into paradise. May all become compassionate and wise. May all become compassionate and wise. May all become compassionate and wise. Before we quit, we can bow to the Buddhas. Got my yin qing. Okay, 我们大家一起礼佛。Bow in respect to the Venerable Master. That's going to do it for us for today. 我们到此为止新年快乐，大家阿弥陀佛。Bye everybody. See you next week.